You can find on our art map right there on the Sunday Arts website. Just click on your location and you'll see all sorts of ways to enjoy the arts. Nature in art can take many forms, from the grand vision to the quiet interaction of the everyday. So when sculptor and amateur fisherman Stu James walks the streets of his inner city environment, it's not the big vista he's looking for, but the commonplace sight of a seagull, a fish lying on the sand, or even a matchbox on the footpath.
I always felt like making art was some sort of luxury thing, unjustifiable. It wasn't until much later when I thought, yeah, you can actually do this thing, you're allowed to, it's a proper thing. I think art really works for me when I kind of get a wow factor off it when I first see it. I can feel something in the personality of the artist and almost a cleverness about the way they've applied their idea that really just sort of gives me a thrill. Always found that metal was a really appealing thing and that I was always drawn to it. There's something about the gas and the heat and the arc welding machinery and the goggles and all the stuff. Copper's the supreme non-ferrous metal as far as I'm concerned. You know its limitations and they're pretty broad, and if you get all your balance right, you can belt it a hell of a long way without splitting it or wrecking it. And if things go wrong, it gives you the luxury of almost squashing your mistake back out and starting again. It's flexible. When you fabricate something and you just start off with flat, off-the-shelf materials, you get the opportunity to control this thing, the surface of it, all the way through from start to finish. It just seems like it covers all the bases for me. When I first moved from drawing pictures to making three-dimensional objects, it was like something began in me, this real desire to master sort of making shapes and stuff that just became really addictive. You kind of apply the really nice, simple little things that you see in it onto the surface of the work so that there's that painterly element as well as the sculptural element about it. The fascination with fishing started really early in life, and my grandfather used to be a fisherman, and he used to have a fishing shack up on the Edwards River at Moolamone, and there was great photos of him holding Murray cod or throwing a line in on the edge of the river, and then later when I saw these photos of my mum and her sisters holding Murray cod, those images inform the work in their own way. It's like a sense of belonging to something or somewhere. The Murray cod is such a iconic fish, and he's such almost a prehistoric and bizarre thing. There's clearly a mythology about the Murray cod. It goes back into Aboriginal culture and was this recreational item. Now it's a symbol of the plight of the environment. So it's just developed a whole life within itself, and just to see something like that as a kid too, it's a real eye popper. So it's just get somewhere into the language that you use as something that maybe has a lot of levels to it. Roads run out everywhere all over the country. It's like somehow we've conquered nature because we've put a road through there. When it's just the plain road itself, it's almost like this mini landscape too of river valleys or dust settled in cracks or whatever. And the old white lines age with this sort of life of their own and get these splits and stuff in them that really sort of relate back to weather and the heat of summer and the cold of winter and all those sorts of things that sort of come through in the weathered surface. It makes you really focus on the stuff. If something finds its way onto the road, a leaf or a squash can or a coffee cup or something, it becomes like an arrangement or something in itself, which is really a focus point. It's a joy to bash the texture in it and to bash the texture into the road, and then you bring these different textures together and sort of squash them in a way, and you get this lively surface of things that appeal to you. When I think about being at the beach as a kid, I remember sitting on couch grass and it would be littered with ring pulls off cans, and that's almost as part of the feeling as anything else. Like a piece of bait on the road near a pier. It's all this sort of like extras that inform something about the way we live or who we are. It's just these naturally occurring moments in time or something. And when you're a kid, these things can really burn into your brain. They're like these solid memories of place and time, like smells are or something else. I almost get into a position where I'm staring at the ground a lot, and it's like another side to your life or something. It's this sort of time on your own. It's similar when you're out fishing in the boat too. It's just this time to yourself. You have a lot of rules that you make for yourself, and you follow them through to the finish, and fishing's a lot like that. You have to get all the different components all sorted out in some sort of order that you're happy with, and it's almost like a revelation for you when you finish making the thing, and you look at it, it's like almost like a revelation. There we go, getting a bite. Come on, baby. You're so close to everything. It's not like you're trying to conquer nature at all. You're just going with the flow. Traditionally, in like a fishing photo, that when they'd say, "Oh, you've got to use a piece of bait this size to catch this sort of fish," they'll stick a matchbox in the photo because it's a recognisable object of scale. And originally I started putting them in just in that context, and I really just like the little bit of graphic imagery on them because it does somehow link the work back to those childhood super real moments where you see things and they're almost like, you know, very vibrant. Or I just think our eyes are clearer and our smell's better and our hearing's really good when we're young. I'm trying to get something like that. At the moment I'm making an Aussie pilchard, which is your most common kind of bait fish that everybody uses. They're kind of your oily, smelly bait, which is good for your nasty kind of predator like a snapper or something, but most people would just cut them up into little bits and catch scrappers that are going past, like a flatty or something. They're a nice shape, they pile up to make interesting forms, and they're good colours. They just qualify in all departments as something you can happily make again and again, and just use as one of the kind of the icons or the symbols that might run through a show in a repetitive way and sort of tie things together. The key is to get to the point where you're not thinking about it at all. It's a bit like drawing or something. It's once the formula's locked in, it's kind of automatic. You don't have to get caught up by it. I often wonder what the neighbours think about this constant tapping that goes on. They don't really say anything until they move out of the house, and then as they're loading the truck to go, they go, "What's all the tapping?" The beauty of art is that it's kind of this other thing, and when you look at it, you pick up a vibe off it. I think when it's really working at its best and someone goes in there and looks at a show, they probably walk away kind of thinking, I knew that, or I felt that, or that's what it is. Sort of gives me a thrill, I suppose.
Terrific work, isn't it? Stu James's show